So, Hare Krishna, dear Vaishnavis. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you all so very much for being here today. It's my great honor to welcome back again Her Grace Devaki Devi Dasi. She is such a inspiring devotee. The last time we had her for our japa session, or she gave a class on japa, and it was quite inspiring for all of us present. And I also encourage you to, if you haven't seen that video, to check it out on our YouTube page. So thank you again for being here and for your beautiful association, all of you precious Vaishnavis. Again, I'm welcoming Devaki Devi Dasi, who is a disciple of His Holiness Naranjana Maharaj. Devaki joined the Brahmacharini ashram in Australia in 1985. As a grahasta, she preached in the former Soviet Union, and since 1999 serves as a renounced traveling preacher, regularly visiting India, Bangladesh, Europe, and the USA. She served on the GBC Committee for Devotee Care and currently promotes such care as a top priority within the ISKCON family. Her multifaceted understanding of Vaishnav culture inspired her to establish the Institute for Spiritual Culture in 2014, offering insightful education in Vaishnava life. She has published 3 books and conducts holy name retreats around the world. And so today she's here to share with us her insights and her learnings and her wisdom about the false ego. The false ego is the most subtle part of the subtle material body. It is so subtle that we can easily miss it altogether. Thus, in the name of Krishna consciousness, we may do the opposite of what we should really be doing. Instead of subduing and dissolving the false ego, we can feed and expand it. In this presentation, Devaki Devi Dasi is going to help us discover how our false ego is prompting us to act in the way we should not act almost every day, thus creating our miseries. We learn practical tools to disregard the false ego's demands, which will help us to cultivate the most important qualities of tolerance, gratitude, humility, and forgiveness. And before I turn over the call to you, Devaki Devi Dasi, I hope it's okay. I just want to read just a little part from Mataji's book called The False Ego, because this section really inspired me, and it actually was one of the reasons that I felt it was important to invite her to speak on this topic. So I'll try not to make it too long. I'll just read a small part. And so it starts out, these observations and realizations inspired me to dedicate a separate seminar on this theme, which I would now like to present as a book. Offering the seminar in many parts of the world has helped me immensely to become more aware of my own false ego, how it is the cause of all inner struggles and simply creates our misery. In the past, people would sometimes say to me, you know, what you say is really good and so true, but how you say it. And at times I responded, if it's true, then why not just accept it? I have good intentions, even though my character or nature may not allow me to always present things in such an appealing or a polite way. That's just the way I am. I am saying the right thing, so what's the problem? In those days, I did not realize how the best idea, the best concept can be completely poisoned and spoiled through the influence of our false ego. Nor did I understand that what we think to be our nature or character might very well be our conditioning. Our baggage we have been lugging around with us for many lifetimes. We are not meant to maintain and protect such baggage, but gradually throw it overboard. No one had ever explained these things to me in depth. I had never heard much about such subtle topics. So for me, I wanted to share that because for me, that highlighted why it's important for all of us as devotees to go in depth and hear about these things in such clear and direct ways. So with that, I now turn over the call or the class to you, Devaki Devi Dasi. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Tiffany, for arranging this and once again inviting me to be part of it. It's my great honor. Om Agyantimandasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Dina Tasmai Shri Gove Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manubhistam Sthapanam Yenavutali Swayam Rupakaramayam Dadati Swavanantikam Namam Vishnupada Kashavista Vutali Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Govani Pachayine Nivishesha Shanyavari Pasatari Shatarine Vanchakapa Tubasha Kalpa Sinyuevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Go Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Yes, so I think how we go about it, because I mean, I have to say, you know, I have a 10-hour seminar on the false ego, and here I'm having the challenge to pack some essential things in a 2-hour session. So, but what I think what we do is we kind of divide it in half, and I will start by, shedding a bit of light on the false ego in general and how it affects us. And just so we get a grip on it, what it actually is. Because I tell you, frankly, I once gave the seminar in Vrindavan during Kartik time. And one Mataji was there. She had been around also for 15, 20 years or something. And she came up to me afterwards and she said, "Oh, thank you for giving the seminar. Now I realize I have a false ego." You know, and she was saying, before I always thought this is just some theoretical, philosophical thing. And I always thought it doesn't really, it's not relevant for me. So only now I realize I actually have this, you know. So yeah, just to make this point, you know, how we can just not realize because it's so subtle. So part one, I just want to give a few little points that we get some more understanding what this false ego actually is. And then part two, let's see if we get there. Part two, I would like to give just two main rules of Vaishnava etiquette, which Krishna so mercifully gives us, so we can dissolve the false ego, you know? Like, basically, let me say this up front, the false ego, there's two basic tools how we dissolve the false ego. So one of them is chanting the holy name in a certain mood, with a certain quality of feeling in the heart. Actually, in the false ego book, which you already showed and made a little bit of advertisement for it, there is a whole chapter on chanting also. There's like a summary of the holy name retreat, which I'm often conducting. So because chanting the holy name is one track, how we dissolve the false ego, but it's not the only one. That also I realized after conducting so many holy name retreats, I realized if we don't parallel, you know, follow the Vaishnava etiquette and culture, then very easily our holy name retreats and our chanting is just like an elephant taking bath. You know, what does the elephant do? Immediately when he gets out of the water, he throws dust back on his back with his trunk. And this is what we do. We just fall back into these false ego patterns of behaviors, you know, and then we cannot really receive the benefit from chanting the holy name. Because after all, Mahaprabhu says, Chinada Pisuni Chena, you know, only then we can actually chant the holy name. So after doing for years the holy name retreats, I realized this doesn't get us anywhere, because we can just fall back into these ego patterns of behaviors. So the two tracks are, you know, chanting the holy name in a certain mood, which we won't talk about it now, because otherwise we will not get far with the false ego. But then the other track is Vaishnava etiquette and culture. And I want to highlight two aspects of the Vaishnava etiquette, which often, you know, especially in the Western world, we don't even know about it. We don't hear about it. We don't know it. And we don't follow it. And like that, we are stuck in these false ego patterns of behaviors. You know? So that's what I hope to present. Yeah, so let us begin with the false ego. So as we all know, soul is covered by the gross body of earth, water, fire, air, ether. And then there's the subtle body of mind, intelligence, false ego. So false ego is the most subtle part of the subtle body. And it is really so subtle that most of the times we don't even realize. We don't even realize how it affects us. That's why I put this paragraph in the introduction of the book, just to also, yeah, and often people have commented that this really touched them, especially when the author admits that the author also has a false ego. You know, it's not that I'm all free of this or something. No, my God, putting this book together or giving this seminar for so many years has helped me so much to recognize how the ego every day gets in our way, pushes us to say things and do things which we shouldn't say and do. And we don't even realize, you know. And as Prabhupada said, before we can become Krishna conscious, we have to first become conscious. And we are just so damn unconscious very often, you know, so unconscious, just talking, doing things, and we don't even realize, we don't reflect, we don't introspect, we don't, you know, look at our motives, and, you know, and we are just so unconscious, unconsciously floating through our life there, you know. So, I mean, this false ego seminar or book, it's always a very, when I give this in Mayapur, it's always the course that's best attended. You know, there I have 70, 80 people, they all want to know what is this false ego all about, you know. And even the devotee who edited the book, this is Gopish Prabhu from New Vrindavan, he's a Prabhupada disciple, you know. He's very fond of all my topics, you know, he edits all my books. So, and he was saying to me after each chapter he was editing, he was saying to me, oh, Mataji, this was again an open heart surgery. I have to digest this. I realized again how, oh, my ego is constantly in my way and so on, you know. So, I mean, even for senior people like Prabhupada disciples, it's been a bit of a journey going through this book, you know. Yeah, so for many lifetimes, we carry this subtle body, including the false ego, with us. And there's so many impressions, so many informations stored there, you know. So if we want to go back to Godhead, the subtle body has to completely be transformed and spiritualized. And all the material impressions and experiences there and attachments, they have to be exchanged with spiritual attachments and experiences and impressions. So there's a lot of work to be done to actually go back to Godhead. It's not such an easy thing, you know. So now, one thing is, false ego already as a small child, false ego starts to work on us. I once had the situation, I visited a family with a small daughter. She was just barely over 1 year of age. She couldn't even talk, but she could walk. So I was sitting in their lounge room and talking to the parents, and the girl was bringing all her toys from her toy room, from her kids' room there. And I didn't really think of it much. I thought, all right, she's bringing her toys. But then the mother made this comment. She said, she just wants to show off with her toys because you are here. And I thought, oh my God, this is how it works. Already 1 year of age, we want to show off. Look at my toys, and I'm so special because I have all these toys and they're mine. This is how the false ego starts already at such young age, because the toys are the first possessions of the child, my toy. And there's often the fights between the kids. No, let me have it. No, it's mine. So that's already where the false ego starts hitting us, And then let me explain, false ego basically means, in essence, that we are thinking ourselves to be something which we are not, right? That's the essence. Instead of remembering Jiva Swarupa Krishna Nityadas, I'm eternal servant of the Lord, we identify with so many other designations, upadis, roles we may be playing, temporary designations. So, and starts at young age, we accept all these designations. I'm a boy, I'm a girl, I'm American, I'm German. So now I'm a student and I'm a medical student. And so then we may get married. So now I'm wife, I'm husband, I'm mother, I'm father, I'm a teacher, I'm a doctor. So as the living entity goes through life, the layer of designations becomes thicker and thicker, right? Yes. And of course, it doesn't end by becoming a devotee. No, it continues there also, So now I'm a brahmacharya, I'm a brahmacharini, I'm a grihastha, head pujari, sankirtan devotee, and temple president, and all these designations. We accept them and we identify with them. So now, of course, there are roles we are playing, like we may wear certain hats at certain times, right? Like when I was a kid, people were still covering their heads more in the village in South Germany. The men had all different hats, the one for the working in the garden or in the field, and the one for the Sunday church visit, and the one for going to the city and all this. So we wear different hats at certain times, but we don't identify with a hat. We don't say, I'm the hat. No, we understand I'm not the hat. I'm just wearing it at certain times, right? So in the same way, we all have so many roles in our life, in our daily life, At home, we may be the mother, father, wife, husband, wife. Then at the temple, we have a different role. We may be a pujari or a coordinator or whatever. So then at work, we may have a different role. So we have so many roles, like hats we are wearing. But we are not the hat. We are not these roles. But sadly enough, we do identify with them. So why do we identify with them? I mean, usually when I give the seminars, of course, I'm so much more interactive, but here over Zoom in a 2-hour session, I can't afford to be interactive. So why do we identify with the role? Because they give us a certain gratification, a certain sense gratification. They gratify the ego. They give us some sense of importance, some recognition, and whatever it may be, some prestige and that's what the false ego is hankering for, to get this prestige and this gratification. So, and that's why we get attached to them and we identify with them, because the false ego is pushing us for this gratification and we enjoy it. You know, so quietly after the seminar, we can ponder, which hat am I most attached to in my life, right? Which role gives me so much gratification that imagining to give it up is worse than death. We are attached to it. No, I can't give this up. That's me, Yes. We all have our favorite hats, which we identify with, right? Yes. So, and I mean, as a little example from an everyday ISKCON life, life in an ISKCON community, we've all experienced it. Like, for example, a person has a position, a title, whatever it may be, temple president, head pujari, sankirtan leader, whatever it may be. So, and then one day maybe somebody comes and says, oh, we decided now somebody else should do this service and get this post. So if we are just humble servants, then this will not be a problem, right? We will just say, okay, fine, yeah, I thought I can serve and please you all if I, occupy this post, but all I want to do is serve. So if you want me to do something else, fine, just let me know what it is and I'll be happy to do anything, whatever you like me to do. So if we actually identify with Jiva, Srupa, Krishna, and Nityadas, if we just want to serve and be a servant, then this will not be an issue. But, if we are attached to the title, the false ego is hanging on to this, then it becomes a whole thing, sometimes a whole big conflict and politics and oh my God, it can become a rather ugly scenario, And I mean, having been 37 years in ISKCON, you see so many things and these things have made me wonder that I think, God, I thought, after 30 years or something in Krishna consciousness, we shouldn't be attached to posts and titles and positions. And I was kind of scratching my head thinking, God, somehow we seem to do something wrong here. Something is missing, but how is it? What's lacking here? Coming from a medical background, I'm still always in this analyzing mood of trying to make the diagnose here, and are we taking the treatment properly or maybe not or what, So yeah, I mean, these things, observing these things just has brought me to this topic, how important it is, and as I shared in the introduction, myself, it took me so many years, probably the first 20 years of my devotional life, I didn't understand. I was not conscious of these things, So that's why I thought, all right, let me put a seminar together just to, maybe I can save other devotees time a little bit, that they don't walk around for 20 years, not even understanding how the false ego affects us, And I mean, one interesting thing is the bigger or the more dominant the false ego is, the less we realize, the less we can see it. Yes. I mean, you would think it should be the other way around, that the bigger the false ego is, the more obvious it is visible or something, but no, the bigger it is, the less we see it. And I have a funny little story on this topic too. I know one lady, I won't say which part of the world. I know one lady, her false ego is just, it's just very powerful and prominent. And therefore she always gets herself in conflicts, And at some stage, she was very depressed about it and disappointed. And she kind of turned a little bit towards me and, trying to reveal her heart to me and so on. And I thought, all right, let me try and help her to understand what the problem actually is, And in a very careful way, I was saying to her, I was making this comment, amongst so many other things. I was just simply making this comment saying, well, this false ego is just always getting us into trouble somehow, That's all I said, very carefully. And the way she responded, I was speechless, She was laughing, and she was saying, come on, false ego, what's that? I don't have that. Come on, what's that? I don't have that. And I was so shocked. I thought, my God, how is it possible? That if somebody is so, pushed and tortured by the false ego and constantly suffers in her relationships, and then she laughs it off and says, false ego, what's that? I don't have that. I mean, I was shocked. I was speechless. I didn't know what to say, And then all I said was, I wish I could say that about myself, that I don't have a false ego. That's all I said. I wish I could say that about myself. That's all I said. I didn't say more than that, But yeah, this is really what it's like, that, it actually requires some little purification to be perceptive enough to actually notice and introspect and detect how the false ego is affecting us so much. Every day it's going on. Yes. So yeah, it takes actually some purification to notice it at all, and while we are not quite there yet, we don't notice, And that's why Vaishnava etiquette is our only saving grace, As long as we are not spontaneously acting like the humble servant, considering ourselves insignificant, as long as we don't spontaneously can act on this, we need the Vaishnava etiquette and culture. They're like Krishna's crutches he gives us to move forward, and learn how to walk, that we transform our patterns of behaviors, because that's what Krishna consciousness is all meant to bring about. We are meant to transform ourselves, our likes and dislikes, our worldviews, our tastes, our patterns of behaviors. And we don't want to stay as we are. We are meant to transform, So yeah, it requires a lot of introspection and a lot of internal work, Yeah, so basically, let's go back to the false ego. We can also say, material world is like a sort of a madhouse. People imagine to be something which they're not. If you go in the closed psychiatric ward or something, people say, yes, I'm Napoleon and I'm Hitler and I'm Alexander the Great and all this. So they're put in the madhouse. So the whole material world is actually a big madhouse, because we think ourselves to be something which we are not. Yes. And Prabhupada gives this nice analogy, one of my favorites. He says, life in the material world is like a nonsensical stage performance. Some of you who attended other seminars may have heard me quoting that before. Nonsensical stage performance. I really love that one, you know, because that's really what material life is all about. Every life is like a performance of on the stage, you know. So, all right, this life, I'm German woman running around. Oh, I'm so busy. I have so many important things to do. I've got no time. Oh, so many responsibilities and running. And then death comes, dum, 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 curtain is closing, show is over, it's all finished. And then next life. Yes, now I may be, you know, in the body of an Indian man, and same thing repeats. We are running around, we think ourselves so important, so busy, and so many things to do. Really taking it in, the roles, you know, really, oh, that's me, I have to do all these important things. Same thing again, curtain closes, show is over. Even animals, you know, I mean, yeah, next life, dog in Sweden barking away, whoa, I have to protect my master and the property. Dog also has dog's mind, dog's intelligence, dog's false ego, definitely, you know. The dog really takes it in. I have to protect this property, and who is this foreigner coming here? And whoa, you know. So yeah, like that, lifetime after lifetime, nonsensical stage performance. So that's what the false ego is entangling us in this nonsensical stage performance, thinking ourselves to be something which we are not. And it's very clear, if we think ourselves to be something which we are not, there has to be anxiety there, complete anxiety. You know? We can imagine we are like, let's say we are a servant on a king's court. And then one day we proclaim, so now I am the king. You know, so that will give us a lot of anxiety. How will I make people believe that I'm the king? And what if they find out I'm actually not the king? You know, so there will be a lot of fears, anxiety, stress, and trying to be something which we are not. How can I project, you know, onto others that I'm something which I'm actually not? That has to bring a lot of anxiety along, definitely. And then one day he says, okay, it was just a joke. I am actually the servant. I'm not the king. Oh, thank God. What a relief. You know, I don't have to pretend anymore to be something which I'm not. You know, so that's really our situation in the material world. And often devotees share that when they actually come to Krishna consciousness, it is such a relief. Oh, finally, I don't have to pretend anymore to be something, the big enjoyer, the cool person who's got it all under control and is so successful. Oh, thank God, you know. But then very often, yeah, in Krishna consciousness, because we identify again with new roles and caps or hats, you know, then the anxiety starts again. But I distinctly remember this moment when I thought, oh, great, all I have to do is just be a servant. That's fantastic, you know. All I have to do is serve, and yeah, sorry, please be satisfied with whatever service I can offer, even if it's not so outstanding or something. So that gives actually such relief, you know, when we take this position of being servant, you know. Yes. So of course there's so many more things to say, but maybe I will move on to one very nice quote from the Bhagavad Gita, which I also have on the back of the book there. This is 1858. There Krishna really gives us a choice. He gives us two options. So he says there, if you become conscious of me, you will pass over the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. So that's the first option. Then second option, If, however, you do not work in such consciousness, but act through false ego, not hearing me, you will be lost. Right? So, two options Krishna gives us here, that either we become conscious of him, which of course means, we follow his instructions also, and we serve him, and we try to do everything as humble servant, trying to please him and the devotees. And yeah, that's what basically in a nutshell means, that we become conscious of Krishna, following his recommendations, his systems, his culture. So then Krishna promises, you will pass over all the obstacles of conditioned life by my grace. Wow, that's promising. Yes. And there's also in the Bhagavatam, I'm sure we know it, there's this nice analogy how the ocean of material existence shrinks to the size of a hoof print of a calf filled with water. Ocean, no chance to get out, no chance. Let's imagine we are dropped in the ocean in the middle of nowhere. There are no land inside, no boat inside, nothing. No chance to get out, no chance. So, but that ocean shrinks to the size of a hoofprint of a calf, not a cow, but calf. So calf, I mean, how big is that hoofprint, So that you can easily step over without even noticing that there is a hoofprint filled with water, no big deal. So that's what happens if we act, by being conscious of Krishna. Amazing, wonderful. That gives hope, So, but then the second option is, if, however, you do not work in such consciousness, but act through false ego, not hearing me, that's exactly what the false ego does. It blocks the ears, it blocks the intelligence. You can't hear, you can't understand, So then we will be lost. Yes. And I mean, we can maybe reflect, this is a very practical thing actually, when we reflect on different times in our life in the past, when we were lost, when we got ourselves in trouble and we were suffering, when we analyze it, if we are receptive enough or perceptive enough, better, then we can actually realize, yeah, that situation came about because I acted through false ego. I wanted to prove something. I wanted to show off somehow. I wanted to, be the one who knows better or who saves everybody or whatever it may be, So yeah, it's really practical, it really is. And ultimately, at the latest, at the moment of death, we will be lost because we're not going to make it out of this material world, but we have to take another round in the material world. So now from this verse, we can actually also understand that there are two kinds of motivating forces in life. And I find this very enlightening, actually, this point. There's two kinds of motivating forces. So one motivating force is the false ego. And by the way, false ego is not only bad, it has also a little bit of a good part in it too, because at least it gets us going, it motivates us. It gets us out of tamagula, Yes, yeah, definitely. I remember hearing in one class of one spiritual master, he said, yes, false ego has to be given up, but not too quickly. Otherwise, we just drown in tamaguna and we are irresponsible, And like, for example, we can see this in a very simple, practical example. the cars, the temple cars, in an ISKCON temple, the temple cars are usually not that nicely maintained. You know, they're very often bombs just being bashed around, you know. But then when it is my car, you know, a Grihasta has his car, my car. Oh, yes, oh, my car. We nicely take care of that one. We polish it, we wash it, we service it, and you know. But Krishna's car doesn't matter, you know. So unfortunately, it's like that. So yeah, I mean, especially in Grihasta life, this I, me, and mine, very important. That gets a Grihasta, you know, responsible and you know, acting and taking charge and doing things. You know, when he has his family, his children, his property, Grihastas need property, personal property, to be inspired, to be responsible and dutiful. You know, yes, yes. And then the purifying duty is that we give in charity. You know, that loses the knot of I, me, and mine. Then we're meant to give in charity, you know. But personal property, very important for Grihastas. And we see in Nandamaj thousands of cows, you know, and he was distributing charity and so on, you know. Yes. Yeah, so that's the thing. So the false ego is not all bad. No, it has a motivating force, you know, and it gets us going. Even, for example, I also, you know, explained this in seminars about the man-woman nature and energies and so on, that male body comes with a stronger false ego built into the male body. Why? Because one of his purifying duties is to take charge, and that stronger ego motivates him to play the role. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't want to play it. But the false ego motivates him of wanting to play that role, you know. So now in Krishna consciousness, it's the challenge for those souls in male bodies to take charge without false ego wanting to be part of it. And that's difficult. That's a challenge. I mean, anybody who's ever been heading up anything, if they're a little, you know, perceptive, they know how the false ego immediately wants to be part of it all. So to take charge and lead as humble servant, that's not easy. That's a challenge. You know? Yes, yes, yes. So in any case, you know, false ego is not all only bad. It has a motivating force. And we can say, as a rule, the false ego motivating force, especially in the beginning of our spiritual life, is so much stronger than the motivating force of wanting to serve and please the devotees. Yeah, so much stronger, so much stronger. So that's why this instruction of the spiritual master was, yes, false ego has to be given up, but not too quickly. gradually, you know. Yes, as we become purified enough so we can serve with the same motivating force as humble servant, wanting to please Hari, Guru, and the Vaishnavas. Yeah. Yes. So in any case, yes, let's get back to this. There is two motivating forces. The one motivating force is the false ego drive. Like here in Germany, I have a bank account. On the website, they have this motto: everyone has something which keeps him going. So when I was reading that, I was smiling to myself. Yes, yes, everybody has something that keeps him going. And if we are in ignorance of spiritual knowledge, it's the false ego keeps us going, definitely. You know, that yes, I'm mother, I'm father, I have to do this, that, and, you know. So motivating force of false ego, basically in a nutshell, looks like this: that we want to become something, we are attached to a certain designation, and we want to become that. There is a certain ambitiousness in there, you know. I want to become a preacher, I want to become guru and sannyasi and this and that and whatever it may be, temple president, whatever it may be. I want to become that, and you know, that's my focus, and yes, I'm endeavoring for this. So that is, even though it is employed in Krishna consciousness, nevertheless, it's the false ego driving us. And this usually is not leading to real success in spiritual life, actually. Yeah. Important to point this out in these modern days, because, yeah, you know, modern life, material life is all about feeding and boosting the ego. My God, you know, yes. Whereas spiritual life is all dissolving and subduing it. It's the opposite. It's 180 degrees opposite. I mean, it can't be more opposite than that, you know. So, and around us, you know, material life, success in material life is all depending on how much you can promote yourself and show off and be in the center of attention and bring, you know, stand in the limelight and push the others out of the way and be up front there. That's the path to success in material life. And very easily, because this is going on around us heavily, you know, we very easily take that into our spiritual life. And we think, well, must be also success there. That's all we know, you know. So, but in spiritual life, the path to success is very different. There the path is just wanting to serve. Yes. There we don't hanker for some posts and titles and designations. No, the path to success in Vaishnav life is, all I want to do is serve. Let me sacrifice my life in service, accepting any austerity, any personal inconvenience, simply to please Guru, Krishna, and the Vaishnavas. All I want to do is serve, because that is our eternal position, serving, you know? Yes. So, and now the interesting thing is, if we have that approach, Paramatma is in the heart, he witnesses our sincere desire to serve. And it is Krishna personally who opens the right doors at the right time to help this soul on the way back to Godhead. Yes, that's how it works. If we just concentrate on wanting to serve and really give our heart and soul in service, everything else comes from that. Yes, yeah. And I mean, our whole first generation of devotees, Prabhupada disciples, they were having that approach. You know, they didn't strive for this and that and power and control and titles. Or let's say if they were striving for it, they're probably not around anymore. Let's put it that way. You know, but all those souls who are still there, who are empowered, they had that approach. They just fell in love with Prabhupada, and they were willing to do anything for Prabhupada. You know, they were willing to sacrifice their life, their personal convenience and comfort, and everything, just to please Prabhupada. That was their mood, you know. Sometimes we hear Prabhupada disciples saying, you know, I've heard this several times, you know, that people say, if Prabhupada would have told me to jump out of the 20th floor from a high-rise building, I would have done it. You know, of course, Prabhupada would never say such a nonsense instruction. But it's just showing that mood of just being willing to sacrifice. Yes, yes. And if Krishna sees that, Krishna arranges for all the right opportunities at the right time to open up. Yes. And I mean, I don't like to talk too much about myself, but I also have experienced this in my own life. You know, I remember once when I was giving the seminar in Mayapur, one devotee was saying to me in the question and answer session, he was saying, but Mataji, you know, didn't you strive to become a preacher and write books and all this? And that question made me realize, no, never, ever. No, I was just concentrating, you know, on trying my very best to serve with heart and soul, no matter what it may be. And from there, everything happened in my life. You know, I would have never imagined that I travel the world in white with a shaved head and write books. Never, my God, this was the last thing on my mind, really, no. I mean, especially before I became a devotee, I was such a mental person. I couldn't even stop the people in the street and ask what time it is. You know, I could have never, ever imagined that I can speak in front of people. I was so self-conscious and mental, you know, that, yeah. So, but yeah, Krishna consciousness can make a, you know, a dumb person speak and so on, you know. So, yeah, so that's the whole thing, you know. It's a very different approach, just sacrificing ourselves in service. And from that, everything else comes by Krishna. Krishna gives the empowerment. I mean, today there's so much talk about women's empowerment, and that's how we get the empowerment, by simply serving with heart and soul and feeling helplessly dependent on the mercy, the guidance, the blessings of Guru and Prabhupada and Krishna. These two factors, they give the empowerment, you know, yes. And Prabhupada himself, he shares this in one class on Bhaktisiddhanta's appearance or disappearance, I can't remember. There he says, he shares about himself, he says, actually, I had no plan, I had no idea how I would fulfill my Guru's orders. You know, I had no idea, but I was simply willing to sacrifice my life to somehow or other fulfill this order and just try my very best and give everything. And Prabhupada also shares that he had this helpless dependence on Guru, on Rupa and Sanatana Goswami. You know, there's some nice stories, which we don't have time now, but, you know, when before Prabhupada left Vrindavan, you know, he was calling out in the middle of the night in Radha Damodar temple's courtyard there and so on. Hey Rupa, hey Sanatana, hey Gurudev, please, you know, and praying at Advaita Acharya's house for mercy, for guidance, regularly going there, spending all day. Even the day before he got on the Jaladuta, he spent the whole day at Advaita Acharya's house simply chanting and praying for mercy and guidance. Yeah, so that is really, you know, the path of success for a devotee, not the false ego path, but the Vaishnav path of just wanting to serve. And it's also very practical and clear. Naturally, you know, if we live at a temple or in a community and devotees see this person is just so responsible and dedicated and dutiful and always there serving in a humble mood, of course, you know, all the senior devotees, leaders, they all have that, hopefully, that interest to spread Krishna consciousness. So of course, they're gonna give us more. They give us more responsibility, you know, and they invite us to do different things, you know, very natural, you know, very natural. But Krishna in the heart actually arranges it, you know, yes, yes. And also, order has to come from above, you know, it has to come from above. That's a very important thing. You know, it's not the ambitious drive of I want to do this. All right, we may have some idea. And I mean, if I humbly may share, you know, I remember when my husband left Krishna consciousness, I was one more year co-temple president there in Riga. And then Ranjan Swami one day came, you know, he was our GBC then. And I went to him and talked to him privately. And I said to him, oh, Maharaj, I just feel like preaching a bit, you know. And he jumped off his chair. What? You want to preach? Come to Ukraine. Come to Ukraine. You know? And I was all, okay. By then, I had never even given a Bhagavatam class. You know, I had only done ladies' programs every week. You know, to a whole bunch of brahmacharis and congregational members. And I had conducted, you know, deity worship programs and Sankirtan seminars. But I had not sat on the Vyasa-san yet, you know, because my husband was temple president and I kind of intuitively felt, let him have that. I don't want to, you know, compete with him there or something. So, but Maharaj really, you know, come to Ukraine. And every time I met him somewhere, so when you're coming to Ukraine, when you come to Ukraine, and I was saying to him, oh yeah, all right, let me practice first a bit. Let me give a few Bhagavatam classes first and so on. So, but he just really encouraged me, you know, yes. So, and then similar with writing, actually Shivam Swami, you know, he was the one who put this idea in my head. I was not even thinking of it. But he was saying to me, so now you've got your Institute for Spiritual Culture. So where are your books? You have to write. And every time I saw him, he was saying, so where are your books? And then I started writing articles for Dandavats. And I actually sent the articles to him and he edited them for me. That was the start of my humble writing path there. You know, he was actually taking the time of editing my articles, you know, yes. So, but then at some stage I thought, okay, so now I have to stand on my own legs here, you know. But that is a very important principle in spiritual development, that the order has to come from above. Yes, yes, not some own ambitious thing, because we may think we are a fantastic writer, but we have to be actually empowered. You know, there is a verse in Chaitanya Charitamrita that you can actually only spread Krishna consciousness and if you're empowered by the Lord. Without empowerment, you know, we may be running on the false ego platform there, and we may be doing some impressive show there, but to actually transform people's hearts, that is only possible if we are actually empowered, at least a little bit, you know. So we have to get that empowerment first, you know. Okay, so let me close here for the first half and see if we have just maybe one or two questions just about what we discussed before we move on to the two aspects of Vaishnava etiquette and culture. Is there anything? Yes? Bhakti, can you unmute yourself?
So Devaki, would you say that all of ambition is false ego?
Well, I mean, let's put it that way. As we said in the beginning, you know, our motives are not pure, definitely. And, you know, it's a whole, you know, we can say, okay, here is the false ego drive. Here is the pure, humble servant drive. And there's a whole spectrum of mixtures and shades and grades there, you know. But Krishna consciousness is meant to bring that transformation, that our false ego drive is transformed into the burning desire of simply wanting to serve in whatever capacity it may be, you know. So, and there's all mixtures there, you know. I mean, there is quotes, I have them in my verse book where Prabhupada says, personal ambition is the poison. Yeah. Yes, because personal ambition means that we do it for our own gratification. We want to be the hero and get the credit in some gross or even subtle way, Yes. And these things go on in such a subtle way. Oh my God, yes. So that's basically what personal ambition means. It is basically not pure motivation. We don't just want to do it for Krishna's glorification and satisfaction and pleasure, but we want to bring the attention to ourselves and see, I was the one who did it. It was my idea, remember? We want to get the credit, yes. So it's not, it's not that it's all bad and it all has to be given up immediately, but let's understand the star in the sky, which we have to strive for, And by the way, you ladies all know that I have this book also about sheltering relationships, mentorship, especially in regards to the false ego. We do need a mentor, because we cannot see it ourselves. And that's why we need this trusting, well-wishing friend who has no other interests except helping us in our spiritual development, and who can affectionately, tap us on the shoulder and say, hey, just cool down. This wasn't so good here. And what's your motive? Have you ever reflected about that one? And don't push yourself here to the front. And so we need that person. Otherwise, we just are blinded and we are deaf, and we can't see, we can't hear, and we don't notice. And we just are trapped in our false ego patterns of behaviors, So without a mentor, hardly any chance to really, do some internal work there. Notice, Yes. Anything else? Any other quick question? Yes.
Oh, Bhakti Devi, did you want to say something else? Okay, Shreya, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, my obeisances unto you. So Mataji, sometimes we see that there are some people who are very vocal about the fact that, I have a lot of ego, but they seem to have long-lasting relationships, friendships, but there are some people who are very much subdued and surrendered and probably have much less false ego, but they seem to not have great relationships. So I've often wondered, like, how that happens.
Well, see, one thing is important to understand, that just being more quiet or something doesn't necessarily mean, there's no false ego there. Sometimes we have also the wrong understanding of humility, that we think to be humble is just to stand in the corner and shut up and not say anything or what, But you look at Prabhupada, he was so humble, but my God, he also, was saying what needed to be said. So just the fact that a person speaks up doesn't mean he's not humble or he has a false ego, or a person who doesn't speak up and just hides in the corner has no false ego and is humble. No, that is a very shallow understanding. And another point which I can mention here also is that the false ego has two effects also. One effect is that the false ego makes us overconfident and proud and arrogant, and we think we can do it all. But then there's also another effect of the false ego, which makes us all insecure and mental and full of complexes. That's also an effect of the false ego. Because, the false ego basically pushes us to look really good and great. And according to our capacity and karma, maybe, we may not be able to look as good and great as the false ego wants us to look like. So, and then as a response to that, we become all insecure and mental and self-conscious and full of complexes, So false ego has both effects, Yes. And I mean, it's also interesting to understand, like, this mentalness and insecurity mainly comes when we are so attached to external results, because the external results, they are the ones that gratify the ego easily. Of course, not always, a person who is free from false ego, he will not be intoxicated by external results. That's why it says Bhagavad Gita, in happiness, distress, and success and failure, one should be equipoised. So, but the tendency in general is that people are attached to the externals, especially now in Kali Yuga. My God, the externals is all that counts. But in Krishna consciousness, in devotional service, Krishna is not so impressed with the externals. He wants the love and devotion, right? Yes. So let's say a devotee cannot sing so nicely, so the devotee may get all mental and depressed and self-conscious and discouraged. Oh, everybody else sings so nicely except me, But maybe when that person sings with so much more humility, so much more love and devotion. So Krishna accepts that much more than somebody singing who is all full of their own talents and simply uses, the situation to show off their musical expertise or something, So that is the solution, to remember, actually, it doesn't matter what the external result is. I simply serve to my best capacity, and please accept whatever little I can offer, and hopefully Krishna accepts that I'm trying my very best and put my heart and soul in, And then if we have that approach and that vision, then we will not get all self-conscious and mental about our singing or whatever it may be, So we have to look at things with spiritual vision and not just externals, like that.
Thank you, Mataji.
Okay, Hare Krishna. So maybe because time is going, we have only 45 minutes left. So let us, can I go on?
Can I just ask one more question? I don't want to, I'm sorry.
I'm sure you got the answer from reading the book already. So what is it?
I just wanted to clarify something that you already shared about when you were talking about basically remembering that we are servants. That's our constitutional position. And that, we have to surrender. But I also wanted to ask you from a perspective, because I think most of us on this call are maybe in the Grihastha ashram, or at least, aspiring to be, proper Grihasthas. And as you mentioned before, we do have all of these, we have this sense of proprietorship, and that is a motivator for us in many, many ways. And I also count myself as a neophyte devotee who very clearly still has many attachments. However, it is a process for us to get to that point of realizing that we are, even for Srila Prabhupada, it took him, he got his instruction from his Guru Maharaj, but he didn't fulfill it until many, many, many years later. And so I was wondering if you could just speak a little bit about that, because it is a process for us, right? And so we have a clear understanding of that, because we all know, I think we all know as devotees that we have to surrender. We have to, realize our true constitutional position. We have to realize our relationship with Krishna. But we have to get there. And we
Yeah.
are living in Kali Yuga with so
Yeah.
many struggles. So if you could just speak a little bit about that, I don't want to take up too much time, but thank you.
Yeah, I mean, whole process of Krishna consciousness is meant to get there. There's no shortcut, no quick fix it thing, you know. No, we have to apply the whole process properly and in a balanced way. And again, that's why we need a mentor, you know, who helps us to balance all the different aspects of our devotional life. You know, and as we mentioned in the beginning, the 2 tracks are chanting the holy name, but deeply, not just blabbering something while we're doing other things. That kind of chanting is useless, as we discussed in the last Sanga. And then the second one is the Vaishnava etiquette and culture, you know, which we will address now. But just, you mentioned that point, you know, that of course, this doesn't apply to Prabhupada, but you mentioned it in connection with Prabhupada, that only many years later, he was able to do what he was ordered to do by his guru. So, and again, I'm saying, what I'm saying now does not, it's not relevant for Prabhupada, but just when you said that, that thought came to my mind. I once heard this nice explanation in a class also in Mayapur, that if we find ourselves in a situation that we feel we could do so much more, but at the moment somehow it's not happening, we somehow don't get the opportunities, it's somehow, you know, but inside we feel, God, I actually could do more, you know. So, and the explanation for this is that Krishna thinks, or Krishna can see, we are not able to handle the success. In other words, we would get puffed up about our results and our success. So, and that's when a devotee is dear to Krishna, he will not allow that. So that's why he's pulling the handbrake on, you know, and he's waiting until we have more purification, you know. And again, I definitely can see that in my own life, you know, that there were times where I thought, God, you know, somehow I feel inside I can actually do so much more, but somehow it's not going anywhere. It's not happening. You know, somebody's putting on the handbrakes. That's really what it feels like. You know, so now looking back, I can definitely say, yes, well, I just needed some more purification, you know, definitely, you know. So yeah, that's, but again, it's not for Prabhupada's situation, of course, you know, but for our situation, you know. So yes, and I mean, I think this point we made with the 2 motivating forces just to serve, I think this is a very consoling and comforting thought and realization that actually we don't have to chalk out a whole career here in Krishna consciousness and, oh yeah, I want to do that, and yes, I'm going to get there, you know. But no, all we have to do is serve and please, you know, Krishna and the devotees and Guru and Prabhupada. That's all we have to do, just serve and really wholeheartedly give ourselves to service. And everything else comes. And again, that doesn't mean we never make any plans, we don't have any ideas ever, no. But, you know, we humbly ask our seniors, guru, mentor, we ask them for opinion, or what do you think? Maybe should I travel and preach a little bit, or maybe I should give more classes, or what do you think? You know, because we may think we are such great speakers, but other people maybe not, you know, yes. So, so that's why, you know, we can of course have inspirations and ideas, but we should always double check, because ultimately we need the blessings. The order has to come from above, you know, yes. Okay, let me move on, because, yeah, we don't have much time left. So first, first important aspect of Vaishnava etiquette and culture. It actually connects with that. The second one connects with that. False ego, because it is so near and dear to us. So we like to protect and defend it all the time, almost every day, you know. And I mean, we all know the animal propensities of eating, sleeping, mating, defending. So very often we talk about eating, sleeping, mating, how that has to be reduced and subdued and kept to bare minimum. But we don't talk much about defending, right? It's hardly ever discussed. I hardly ever hear this, you know? Yes, how the defending is also an animal propensity and it has to be given up. And of course, when we usually hear defense, we think about gross defense of, you know, beating back or something. But no, what we mainly talk about here in regards to false ego is the subtle defense, verbal defense, you know, answering back, wanting to have the last word, wanting to be right, even if we are wrong. Oh, these are these subtle things which, I mean, Krishna always throws us so many opportunities in our way every day, which we can use to subdue and dissolve the ego, but usually we do the opposite. We defend and protect it because it's so near and dear to us, you know. And yeah, this defense, I mean, it's a big topic, you know, really in the book I'm getting into much more details there, because we have all these mechanisms of defending the false ego. Like one very classic and common one is to blame others, you know, to blame the external situation, to blame others. Oh, this is the way, you know, how we protect our false ego. No, it wasn't me, or it was somebody else, or it was that circumstance. We find excuses, you know. Oh my God, you know. Yes. And this goes on practically every day in our daily life, you know. Yes. And especially this answering back and wanting to be right and having the last word. Ooh, you know, this is so much against Vaishnava etiquette, especially when we do this towards a senior. Oh my God, so uncultured. Oof, oof, oof. Yeah. But we don't know these things, you know, here in the Western world. We don't learn these things, you know. Yes. I mean, also my time serving in Bangladesh over the last 20 years or 22 years, every day, every year, I have spent some months there. I've learned all these subtle things, you know, because there, all the Vaishnava etiquette is so deeply ingrained in people's hearts and they're really following it. And oh, you know, so often I was really doing the wrong thing there, just showing that I'm a gross, uncultured Westerner, you know. Yes. But yeah, I mean, over 20 years, I've learned a lot there, you know. Yes. Yeah, so that's why the first rule of Vaishnava etiquette and culture is, and I mean, really, we don't have the time usually in this topic, there's so many questions coming. You know, but a Vaishnava should actually never defend himself or herself. Yes. So we do have in Bhagavad Gita the exceptions, you know, when the 6 aggressors attack, then we can defend. So 6 aggressors is when somebody gives poison, when somebody sets fire to our house, when somebody attacks with a deadly weapon, when somebody plunders our riches, when somebody occupies our land, or when somebody kidnaps our wife or our husband. So then we are allowed to defend. Actually, according to Bhagavad Gita or the Vedic laws, these are even reasons to kill the person, you know, but yes, I mean, we live in a different system of law here, so obviously we can't get away with that one. But at least we're allowed to defend, you know, but these 6 aggressors. You know, how often do we meet them? You know, not every day. Very rarely somebody sets fire to our house or attacks with a deadly weapon or whatever, you know. So, but nevertheless, this defending propensity, oh, so strong, so strong, so strong. My God, you know. I actually remember when I once was giving the seminar in Mayapur and I was discussing this point. And then after the seminar, I spoke to one participant there. I can't even remember what it was. He was a young devotee, you know. And I said something, I can't remember what it was. And he immediately defended. And I smiled and said to him, Prabhu, don't defend. We just discussed it. Remember, don't defend. But he couldn't even hear. He just went on and on and on. So that's what it's like, you know. This urge to defend is so strong. The ego is pushing us. Oh, we can't even control our tongue. We have to say it. We have to have the last word. We have to, you know, show that we are right. Oh, my God. You know, this is how the false ego is torturing us, you know, and demanding this gratification of being right and knowing better, you know, and defend. Oh. In the false ego book, I'm also sharing this funny story with Sori Prabhu. You know, I know him well because he was in Australia when I joined there. And he served as Prabhupada's secretary for quite a while. So I often consult with him and ask him for if certain, you know, episodes were right and so on. So I wrote him a message, Prabhu, do you have a story with Prabhupada where you defended? And he said, yeah, sure have. Here it is. You're welcome to put it in your book. And he told this funny story where he served Prabhupada as a secretary. And Prabhupada asked him, give me the red folder from the Almira, from the cupboard. So Arisori goes, Prabhupada, there's no red folder. Prabhupada repeats, give me the red folder. Arisori, Prabhupada, there is no red folder. Prabhupada repeats a third time, give me the red folder. So then Arisori Prabhu says, Prabhupada, there's a pink one. Do you mean the pink one? So then he gets out the folder, which in his eyes is pink. He gives it to Prabhupada and he says, Prabhupada, it's pink. You know, not, you know, wanting to have the last word. Prabhupada, it's pink. It's not red. It's pink. I am right. You are wrong. Oh my God. And something like that towards Guru. Oh, Prabhupada was blasting him, you know. He gave him a whole 10-minute lecture, you know. So now you have become very expert in defending yourself in front of your spiritual master. He blew his head off, you know. But Hariso is sharing how it felt so good to be smashed and flattened by Prabhupada and so on, you know. Yeah, so I mean, towards Guru, to try to have the last word towards Guru. Oh my God, terrible, 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 you know. And I mean, there's many stories where devotees try to, you know, have the last word towards Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was always really heavily chastising them, you know, heavily, yeah. Even if Guru, you know, unfairly, unjustly chastises us, Vaishnav müdas. Okay, in this situation, I maybe am getting this chastisement unfairly, but so many other times I did some nonsense and I was not chastised. So let me just accept it as an opportunity to give up my false ego, you know? Yes. Let me just let it go by, not respond, not Bhat Prabhupada or Bhat Guru Maharaj. Actually, it wasn't me and it was like that and blah, 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 blah. You know, no. You know? We're not meant to do that. Oh, one thing I forgot, Vaishnava etiquette is, Vaishnava should not defend himself or herself, but should defend others. Very important. If everybody follows that etiquette of not defending oneself, but defending others when we see they are unfairly treated, no need for ourselves to defend ourselves, you know, then surely somebody else will step in and say, oh, excuse me, you know, Marge, it actually was a little different, the whole story or whatever, you know. Yeah, that's an important part, you know. Yeah, because whenever we defend ourselves, so subtle, there's always this, you know, we want to protect our image, our prestige, what people think of us, that everybody knows actually was not my fault, it actually was not me, story was differently. And this is always false ego, you know, because at the moment of death, who cares whether it was our fault or not, or whether we did it or not? Who cares? Already a week later, usually nobody cares anymore, you know, but definitely not at the moment of death. So it has no real significance on the absolute platform. It is just a temporary thing connected with the body and our heads we are identifying with and you know, so therefore, yeah, very important rule of Vaishnava etiquette. We are not meant to defend ourselves, you know. And I mean, there's another interesting thing in this connection is how the false ego contaminates the intelligence and the mind anyway. I mean, yeah, mind, intelligence, false ego, they're hard to separate. In the same way, how in the gross body, how can you separate earth, water, fire, air, ether here in your body, you know? You can't separate it. It's all mixed and, you know, yeah. So similarly, according to my humble understanding, it is also with the subtle body, mind, intelligence, false ego, they all affect each other backwards, forwards. You know, hard to separate them. But it is interesting to observe how the false ego contaminates the intelligence to such extent that sometimes we experience things in such a different way, in a very distorted way, you know, just so we can give the false ego that gratification that actually it wasn't me, I'm right, I'm okay, it's everybody else's fault, you know. This is also an interesting point, that there is no objective hearing or experience, you know, false ego, mind, intelligence, consciousness, material desires, they act like a filter through which we hear and experience. And I've been in situations, you know, where people experience the same situation so differently, that you start thinking, I mean, are we talking about the same situation or maybe a different one? Or you start thinking, is the person making things up here or lying bluntly, or what's taking place here, you know? But no, it's the false ego's effect on the intelligence that contaminates the intelligence to such an extent that, you know, everything is so distorted that something completely else comes out. And usually, you know, it's one of these defense mechanisms that I'm right, I'm good, I did everything perfectly, and it's all the others. You know, this blaming, oh my God, you know. Yeah, it's one of the main defense mechanisms, you know. Yeah, I mean, usually, you know, when we talk about not defending, of course, this topic is very much related to tolerance. Yes, because in order not to defend, we have to learn to cultivate tolerance. Intolerance, whole different topic for itself, you know, I also discuss it in some of my books. Tolerance is such an important quality to cultivate, It's like the main criteria to judge or to recognize a person's advancement and spiritual strength is in how tolerant the person can be. Famous example, Haridas Thakur, Prahlad Maharaj, you know, so tolerant, so tolerant. And again, Trinada Pisunichana, you know, as tolerant as a tree, you know. Yeah, so tolerance, such a highly important quality to cultivate. But now, in material life, tolerance is seen to be a failure, a loser, you know, a weakness. A person who's tolerant. What? You tolerate that? You know, you can't stand up for yourself, fight for yourself, defend yourself. What is this? You know, so 269 Bhagavad Gita, what is day to the materialist is night to the introspective sage. So what success in spiritual life is seen to be a complete failure in material life, you know, and tolerance is a classic one, you know. Nobody sees tolerance as a quality to strive for in material life. You know, and often, again, we take that into our spiritual life. And often we hear, you know, these statements, what? I'm not going to tolerate that. Who am I to tolerate this nonsense? Oh, God, I get divorced. That's a success. You know, you don't tolerate. You stand up for yourself and fight and walk out. And, you know, that's a success. But in spiritual life, it's the tolerance, you know. Big topic, we don't really have the time, but I discuss it in detail. Let me see in which book. In this one, Spiritual Culture, Krishna's Divine System. Because tolerance is a very important tool for chastity, you know. Chastity also these days, people don't have any deep understanding what chastity is actually, you know. It's also one of those qualities which is seen to be a loser, you know, chastity. What, you don't know how to show off and promote yourself and what's wrong with you? Maybe you have some psychological problem here or something, you know. So shyness and tolerance are the two tools to cultivate chastity. So in that book, I go more into details about tolerance, you know, how important this quality of tolerance is and what it actually means. And one quick little comment about tolerance, because very often this question comes up that people say, but how much can I tolerate? And when I tolerate, I build up all this negativity in myself, and sooner or later I explode or I get sick, and this tolerance doesn't work for me, you know. But so let us understand, what is tolerance, you know. What we talk about here is just suppressing, you know, putting the cork on the bottle, you know, but inside the bottle, it's still the ego battle is going on. Oh, this was unfair, and oh, they shouldn't have treated me like that, and you know, so then of course, all the negativity builds up and sooner or later we explode or we get sick. That's not what we call tolerance. That's something completely different. That's just suppressing the negativity, but allowing the whole negativity to continue inside. You know, the whole ego battle is going on, you know. So true tolerance means we have to have faith in Krishna, and we have to be able to connect our situation with Krishna being in the picture, that we reflect. So what is Krishna trying to tell me here? What's my lesson to learn? Why is this happening to me? You know, yeah, we have to see Krishna's hand in whatever situation we may be facing, you know. Without faith in Krishna, not possible to tolerate. And I come across this very often in my, you know, life as trying to preach and encourage devotees, that very often people are just unable to connect their situation with Krishna in the picture. Yes, But this is what it means to be Krishna conscious, actually, that we see in every situation Krishna's hand. Not a blade of grass is moving without Krishna being in control. So there must be some reason why this is happening to me. You know, what is he trying to teach me? Or maybe it is just, you know, one little drop of the karma, what I actually really deserve. That's another mood of the Vaishnava, that the Vaishnava says, actually, I deserve so much worse than this. I must have been such a rascal in my previous life. And Krishna is so kind, he only gives me one drop of what I really deserve. So if we cultivate this mood, there is no question of negativity building up, because we actually dissolve. You know, we let go of our false ego. We accept the whole situation. We let it go by, and you know. So that's tolerance, and that requires internal work, introspection, and honesty, and again, a mentor. Without a mentor, we can just easily take shelter of our false ego. We get offended, you know, and we walk out, never to be seen again. You know, so without a mentor, this internal work is difficult to do, very difficult to do, you know. Yes. Yes. Yeah, and I mean, sometimes we come across this, you know, that we, you know, we may be facing a crisis, we may be involved in a conflict, but there's just nobody who can tell us anything, you know, because we have not cultivated these trusting relationships where we want to be corrected. You know, that's a sign of a sheltering relationship, that we want to be corrected for them by this person. So, and in regards to false ego matters and, you know, conflicts or being offended or something, if we have not cultivated such a relationship, then often in that crisis situation, it's too late. You know, then we don't have the courage. The false ego is standing in our way, and we you know, we can't approach anybody and reveal our mind. We think, oh, what will everybody think, and so on. You know, how can I tell this? And everybody else will know about it. So then, yeah, we are lost, and we easily just take shelter of our false ego. Yes, of course. Well, I'm just cutting it really short here now, because I do want to very quickly touch upon the second important aspect of Vaishnava etiquette and culture, which helps us to dissolve the false ego. Again, our false ego is so near and dear to us that we like to feed it and boost it. We take every opportunity for it because it's so dear to us. We like to feed it. You know? Yes, and also sometimes massage each other's egos. This is also a common thing that goes on. You know, there's like this subtle contract. So I flatter you, and you know, because we all like to be glorified and recognized, then we think, oh, this person must be a very advanced devotee because he recognizes how great I am. So, I mean, this person must be really advanced. Nobody else has noticed it yet, but finally somebody realizes that must be an advanced devotee. So then we give the massage, ego massage back, you know, because we want the glorifications and appreciation and credit to continue, and flattering to continuously flow towards us. So then there's a subtle contract there. So I become your follower, and I glorify and flatter you, and you give me some little privileges here back, and you tell me how nice I am. And so like that, these subtle contracts are going on, and we massage each other's false egos, you know. But yeah, basically feeding our false egos instead of dissolving it means that we are looking for opportunities to be recognized and glorified and in the center and get the credit, being in the limelight, you know. Yes, that's the whole thing, you know. And Krishna consciousness offers plenty of opportunities for this, you know. Yes, plenty. I mean, in the book, I also have this section, you know, the art of glorifying a devotee, you know. Again, we don't have the time. Please, whoever is interested to get more insights, please get the book. Tell Tiffany which books you want and she will get them for you. But yeah, there's an art of glorifying devotees. So it, with a minimal ego boost, you know. And again, it's a touchy thing because in the beginning, you know, we are running on the ego motivation and we may need this injection of ego satisfaction here to keep going. But eventually, the Vaishnava mood is that we actually don't like to hear our glories chanted. We feel like blocking our ears and running away. We don't like to, you know, be all glorified. It's very uncomfortable. That's the Vaishnava mood, you know. But usually, what do? You know, we lap it up, you know, or finally somebody recognizes, oh, my name was mentioned, and oh, see how great I am. And so, and that gives us another ego boost to do the same service next week, you know. So, but I mean, all right, for beginners, you know, okay. But we don't want to stay on this platform. We want to come to this Vaishnava mood where we actually feel discomfort when our name is mentioned and we are glorified, you know. Yes. So yes, but we don't really have the time. But really saying that we have to be careful does not mean that devotees don't need appreciation. Does not mean that. No. But there's an art to give it in such a way that it doesn't boost the ego so much, you know. And if you want to find out about that, please get the book. But let me say a few more words about this feeding the ego, you know, the opportunities to look for recognition and being the center and so on. Just very quickly, in a nutshell, kirtan can become a fantastic opportunity for this, you know. Yes, I'm going into all details in the book, you know. Yeah, that we have to be very careful that kirtan does not become, you know, an opportunity to simply be in the center and get our ego satisfaction, you know. And I mean, so often we find this question coming up, who can lead, you know, the kirtans? Oh, I tell you frankly, I'm so sick and tired of this, because really, as we get on deeper levels of chanting, we realize actually who leads doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, you know. If we think a kirtan evening was only successful because I could lead, well, obviously our satisfaction and joy is not coming from chanting the holy name. Let's be clear in this. Because if we're just sitting in the crowd chanting along, you know, we can be fully satisfied by chanting the holy name. But if we feel, oh, you know, this day was not a success, the program was not a success, if we feel some disappointment or we were not invited to lead, what are we running after? Let's be clear on this. We run after this ego satisfaction. Yes, yes, yes. So let's make the diagnose. And of course, it's some way to get there. But first of all, we have to hear these things and then introspect and look in our heart, you know, and if we feel this urge, oh, I have to lead, then the alarm bells should go off. Actually, you know, we should think, oh, whoops, what's going on here? Am I just running after my ego satisfaction? Or, you know, am I actually getting joy from chanting the holy name? Yes. So Vaishnav etiquette and culture tells us there's so many little rules, but we should not show ourselves eager to lead, to sing, to speak. One should be invited. One should wait until one is invited to do so. Yes. And especially in the presence of seniors, it's considered to be so uncultured, to be eager. Oh, it's me. Nobody's running to the microphone. It must be my chance. Oh, it's my day. And you know, it's so uncultured, so uncultured. Yes. We are meant to keep ourselves in the background, you know, and then if we are invited, if we are requested, all right, you know, but actually the cultured response would even be, you know, to ask the seniors, oh, what about the senior devotees? Maybe they want to lead, maybe they want to give the class, you know. Like, for example, we may be scheduled to give the Bhagavatam, but then the Maharaj is coming in. My God, it's the etiquette to offer it to Maharaj, to go up to him or ask one of the boys to ask Maharaj, or would you like to give the class? That's the etiquette. Not, oh, great, I'm giving the class, it's my day, and Maharaj is going to listen to me, you know, speak or something. Oh my God, terrible, 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 you know. So we are always meant to offer to the seniors, let them first. And then if the senior devotee says, no, it's all right, you speak, I'll be happy to listen to you. You know, so then, all right, we take it as a service opportunity, and he invited us, and then we speak. But that is the Vaishnava etiquette. In these things, I mean, in the Western world, we have no clue about these subtle etiquettes, but they help us immensely, you know, to dissolve the ego, you know. I mean, now we have Kartik coming up very soon. So, practical example, I have seen this many times in temples, that they just put a roster on the notice board with the dates and say, so whoever wants to lead the Damodarastika, please put down your name. Ooh, no, we are not meant to do like that, because what's happening? You know, the young bhaktas and bhaktins, they're picking the best days, putting down their name, whoever's first has it, you know. And then the seniors who are more humble in the background, oh, sorry, Prabhu, no spot free for you. Sorry, next year, you know. Oh, no, so terrible, terrible. So the way we are meant to do it is that one devotee goes around with a list of the dates, you know, and approaches the seniors first. On which day would you like to lead the Damodarastika? You know, the senior ladies, the senior men, they come first. So, and then we go lower and lower, you know, and then, you know, the last is the young bhaktas and bhaktins. You know, that's the Vaishnava etiquette. Not to push ourselves to the front and, oh, I've got my spot and I reserved it early or what. Terrible, really, yes. But in many temples, this is the system, and I won't mention any names, but I once mentioned it in one big community. And then one devotee told me, yes, you're right. We just had it in Kartik time, that this lady was ringing, I want my daughter to lead the Damodarastika, you know. And then this devotee said, oh, sorry, Mataji, there's no spot left. Oh, that's ridiculous. Let me speak to your authorities. And so I'm, oh my God. You know, no, this is terrible. This is terrible, you know. Yeah, and same thing, even if we may be scheduled to sing, but then if there's a senior preacher coming, you know, and he's not on the schedule, we should go up and offer, you know, him the slot, even, oh, I'm missing my day, but too bad, that's the Vaishnava etiquette, you know, that we give it to the seniors. And we should, even if the ego protests, oh, it was my day, it's unfair, and oh, now I'm missing my chance. But we should accept it as a golden opportunity Krishna is giving us to let go of our ego satisfaction. And wholeheartedly, we should join that Damodar-Kirtan kirtan and sing along, and we get the same purification, my God. I mean, there's so much more to say, but again, one of my favorite quotes from Prabhupada, and I think we talked about it maybe last time in the Holy Name thing, when Prabhupada says this humorous thing. I mean, Prabhupada is sometimes just so humorous. He says, in the material world, even the ass enjoys his own sound vibration. Oh, I love that one, The ass thinks my sound is so beautiful. Let the whole world hear my sound. But then Prabhupada continues in the same purport, in the same sentence. He says, but in the spiritual world, even the beautifully chirping birds, like the cuckoos, chakravaka, peacock, they rather want to hear the glories of the Lord chanted by the bees. Even though the bees, from a material point of view, I mean, how elating is the humming of the bees. But no, that's the mood in the spiritual world, that even these most beautifully chirping birds, they don't think their own sound is so beautiful and the whole world has to hear it. No, they rather want to hear from the bees. They glorify the Lord so much more wonderfully. I want to hear from them. So that's the mood in the spiritual world. There, everybody pushes the other person forward. No, you go to Krishna, you serve him, you give him pleasure. Amongst the gopis, manjaris, actually, they experience more pleasure arranging others to give personal, intimate pleasure to Krishna. That it gives them more happiness than themselves. So that's the mood in the spiritual world. That everybody pushes the other person forward, not themselves. Yes. And Vaishnav etiquette is our only hope to cultivate this mood and transform, our patterns of behaviors from false ego pattern to humble servant pattern, and I'm tiny, insignificant, and not I'm the most important, whole big thing, big topic. Anyway, to wrap up, daily life, actually, especially also in family life. That's why family life is so highly purifying, because it gives us so many opportunities every day not to defend, So I'm always consciously practicing with my mother, because parents, they are our elders, they are seniors. We are not meant to defend towards our elders and have the last word and be right. And in so many years I was doing all these things because I didn't know, nobody told me, all these things, And I was surprised why my relationship with my mother is sometimes a little strained, But then thank God one day I got it, And I let her, now I always let her be right, even if she's wrong. And it's a challenge for the false ego. Oh my God, the ego wants to, oh no, Mom, it's not like that, and I know better, and, But no, let her be right. Let her be right. Let's not defend, and let's have the last word and be right. And so let her be right. It doesn't matter, So since I'm consciously using my relationship with her for that thing, our relationship is so much more harmonious. So towards any elder, we should not defend. And maybe some people in America don't like to hear this, but a husband is also considered to be in this position. There's the solid quote where Prabhupada says, by his constitutional position, a husband always wants to be superior. And by her constitutional position, the wife is always in a subordinate position, and this has to be observed. Even if there's a wrong on the part of the husband, the wife has to tolerate it, and then there will be peace in the home. Prabhupada says it. Ooh, heavy, heavy, hard to swallow. False ego doesn't like to hear these things, you know. But yeah, so on the husband, we women practice, you know, to subdue the false ego, dissolve it, let him be right. He will notice. I don't have to tell him that he's wrong. He will notice anyway. And you know, yes. All right, ladies, any final comment, questions? Sorry, the end was a little summarized, but what to do, you know? Do we have any final comments, questions?
Hare Krishna.
Anything?
Ladies, if you'd like to ask, you can please go ahead and feel free to unmute
Or
yourself.
is there anybody on YouTube watching? Maybe some YouTube questions?
You know, I'm not monitoring it yet. Oh, actually, we're not streaming it, but we will post the class afterward.
Oh, okay. I see.
Recording. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Devaki, I just want to reflect on something that you said earlier about serving and how Krishna will assign it for you. Krishna will figure it out for you.
Yes.
You know,
through his pure devotees.
yes.
You know?
Because I was for a long time praying to Krishna for service. And I guess I must have been praying for maybe just under a year. And then it finally came to me. And I was asked by the Bhakti Center to lead a community group and to assist somebody else in another community group. And there it is.
Just see. I mean, also, of course, we have to be, you know, close to a devotee community.
Yes.
If we live far away, you know, we may be praying for the rest of our life and there's not much opportunity coming up. So that's why, I mean, the serving the devotees is such an important element of our whole purifying process. So that's why we have to be in a community where we feel inspired to serve and please the devotees, you know, and then if we're eager to serve. And I mean, we don't only have to pray, we can also go up to devotees and ask, oh, can I please have some service? What can I do? Because this can also be a little bit of our pride that we want to be asked to serve. Yeah, I mean, the order for some bigger mission has to come from above. But we have to understand it's great mercy to get service. You know, we have to be keen to serve. Anything, wash the floor, the toilets, whatever it may be, you know. Yeah. So we should not just sit and wait until we are asked, oh, the order has to come from above. No, that is more for the more bigger missions of preaching, of writing, of going to a foreign country, opening a temple or whatever it may be. So that kind of mission, you know, should not be with ambitiousness or I want to start a temple in Africa now or whatever it may be. But no, there we should see if the order comes, you know, we can maybe suggest it. What do you think? Should I go to Africa and open a temple? And then we probably will get an answer pretty soon from our guru, you know, but the smaller, humble, menial service, we have to be keen for it. We have to be keen for it. And then if the devotees see, oh, this person is so reliable and enthusiastic and always happily cleaning the toilets every week, you know, so maybe we can give that person a bit more than that, you know, like that. Yes. All right, maybe let me quickly take one more time the opportunity to quickly show the books, just in case there's somebody who doesn't know them yet and hasn't got them yet. So Spiritual Culture, Krishna's Divine System. This actually really targets wonderful and most important role we women are meant to play as being the power of inspiration to men around us, not only in family life, but also in community life. And there's so many interesting topics there. I mean, if we want to have harmonious relationships with men around us, even at work and the office with Kami men, you better check out this book, you know, then you will get some very clear insights there, you know. And then the next one is sheltering relationships, the importance of having a mentor, no matter on which level of spiritual advancement we are. We need somebody who we can trust, who can correct us. Vaisheshika Prabhu always says, we live to be corrected. Yes. You know, so, and eventually we should also become mentors to others, because that means we have some genuine interest in other devotees' spiritual journey. We are willing to sacrifice our energy and time for the upliftment of others. And if we don't get to this point, we remain kanishtas. It's as simple as that, really. You know. So, and then the false ego, constant companion, and troublemaker, we had a little introduction. And the new and latest one, which just came out just only a month ago or something, entering the Grihastha ashram. And this is not only interesting and super relevant for people who are not married yet, but actually it's important for anybody. Even brahmachari leaders should read this book, so they can guide other devotees when and how to get married, how to change ashram. You know, married people, even gurus, I dare say. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to sound arrogant and puffed up here, but I think every spiritual master also should have a clear understanding what's Krishna's recommendation and system, how it should go, you know. Yes, and it's almost like a handbook for a matchmaking committee. You know, I come across this all the time in my journeys, that in every temple I meet so many ladies, especially, and also men, who need help with this, to find a compatible partner. Because we don't want that the Sunday program becomes just a whole opportunity to chat up somebody from the other gender there and go hunting and fishing for a husband or something, you know. No, we need some help, you know. And Prabhupada says it all in the Bhagavatam, you know. It's all based, all the books are just based on Prabhupada, what he says in the Bhagavatam, in his letters, in his conversations, you know. So, and in winter, hopefully, I do volume 2, Family Life as an Ashram, Secrets of Success. Yeah, there I want to highlight all different cultural aspects of family life as an ashram, what it means to actually make family life as an ashram. And in this book, I'm already also highlighting how we have to change and transform our whole attitude and expectation and ways of entering if we want to make our family life as an ashram. You know, it took me years to realize that just by being initiated and chanting 16 rounds following the regulative principles doesn't mean our family life is an ashram. No, no, no. Our high divorce rate shows that it's not an ashram, because in an ashram there's no question of divorce. Yes. Once when I gave that course in Mayapur, one devotee, one Prabhu in the audience said, Mataji, we are not even on the level of Grihamedis, because Grihamedis, they follow rules and regulations. Grihamedis don't get divorced. Of course, their rules and regulations they follow is to have a happy and pious family life and not to go back to Godhead and develop pure bhakti. You know, the motivation, the goal is a different one, but at least they follow all kinds of, you know, rules and regulations, and they definitely don't get divorced. So we're not even on the level of Grihamedi life. Wow, that really made me think. And I thought, well, it's actually true. It's actually a point, You know, so that's what I'm sharing in the introduction in this book. Yeah, so there is a lot of interesting questions also about the 4 ashrams and about divorce and remarriage and women taking sannyas. And so many interesting topics, which are in one sense connected with entering the Grihastha ashram and you know. So yes, price these 2 books, because they're thicker, they're $23 US each, and the other 2 are $12 US each. And Tiffany Madaji is the one to contact if you want any books. Okay.
Hare Krishna, yes. And I also put, if you haven't seen already, I did put in the chat the email address to contact me if you want to, if you would like the books.
Okay.
Devaki, do you have a few more moments or
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Okay, ladies, I hope that you also have a few more moments. If you have to leave, we completely understand. And again, this recording will be on YouTube, so you won't miss anything. I just wanted to take a moment to thank you so much for bringing up the issues of tolerance and also defending, because I think that those are often concepts that are misunderstood even amongst devotees. And I think that tolerance is very deeply connected to humility, which I think is also something that we tend to misunderstand. So I was hoping that you could say a little bit about humility, because I think that's the concept that, you know, often, especially for new devotees, we come in and we think that, you know, to be tolerant or to be humble means that I should, you know, accept abuse or accept things that are not so. So I hope that you would just say a little bit about that, just to clear that up, because I hear that so often amongst devotees, this misunderstanding about it. So just say a bit about that.
Well, first of all, your initial point of humility being connected to tolerance. Yes, definitely. I like to see it like this, that humility is the primary quality which manifests in secondary qualities, such as tolerance. I like to see it as a secondary quality of humility, because a humble person will always be tolerant, but a person who is not humble, a person who is proud, can never be tolerant. Same with, for example, forgiving. It is also a secondary quality of humility, because a humble person will always be forgiving, whereas a proud person will never forgive, you know. Or gratitude, also a secondary quality of humility. Humble person will always be grateful for every little thing. Proud person will never be grateful, you know. So we can put it together like that. And I mean, actual true humility is considered to be one of the signs of bhava, actually. It's a high quality, you know, to cultivate. Not so easy, you know. Yes. And I guess these secondary qualities, they give us a more practical approach how to cultivate humility, you know, by cultivating tolerance, by cultivating gratitude, forgiveness, and you know, like that. So now about tolerance being misunderstood. Yeah, I mean, this is also often coming up, you know, that people think tolerance means you have to tolerate abuse or something. Of course not, you know. This is not what we talk about. And I mean, I'm also in the book Spiritual Culture, where we talk about tolerance, there's also this chapter on hierarchy. That hierarchy actually means divine order. It comes from Greek language, and it means godly, divine order. So it is Krishna's order which he has given us, and it is a system for protection. You know, like the Brahmanas are meant to protect the Kshatriyas, you know, and them, or guide them, and the Kshatriyas also protect the Brahmanas, but the Brahmanas are protecting the Kshatriyas by guiding them. The Kshatriyas are meant to protect the Vaishyas. The Vaishyas are meant to protect the Sudras. So it's an order for protection. And the same way, man is meant to protect woman. And that's why, you know, he is higher and the Brahmana is higher, because you can only protect somebody from a higher position. The flow of protection goes from high to low. So, and on such a system, Krishna is the top on the hierarchy. And everybody below him understands their position as Krishna's servant, right? Yes, and Krishna is the top on the hierarchy. So what happens if Krishna is removed from the top of the hierarchy? Then this divine system for protection becomes a system for exploitation and abuse. That everybody wants to take Krishna's post now, and that understanding is not there, that we are Krishna's servant. And like Krishna being removed from the top of the hierarchy basically means that we are not God conscious anymore. Society is losing its God consciousness, you know, and that understanding that, yes, we are meant to protect those below us. So, and that's when everybody tries to take Krishna's position and exploit and abuse those below oneself, you know. And yeah, that's how, you know, the Varnashram system became the caste system, you know, and the Brahmanas exploiting the Kshatriyas, and they're exploiting the Vaishyas, and they're exploiting the Sudras. So it's turned into a system of exploitation and abuse. Same as there with a man, you know, that if a man is not God conscious, then he's using his superior position to exploit and abuse, you know. So, but the solution is to put Krishna back on the top of the hierarchy, because there will always be hierarchy, because it's Krishna's system for protection, you know. So the solution to women being abused is not independence and equality. No, sorry, it's not. You know, the solution is to put Krishna back on the hierarchy, and the men have to be God conscious, Krishna conscious, and they should not use their position to exploit those below them, but to protect them and care them for them, you know. So, and basically we women have to be smart enough to you make the right choice, you know, in married life, which man we want to depend on, you know. I'm going into details in this book, actually, you know, that yes, we have to make what inspires a man to be responsible is if the wife depends on him. So, but we have to make the right choice, which man to depend on, you know, yes. Somebody who's Krishna conscious, somebody who understands how to protect and how to care for a woman, not somebody who is abusing a woman or something, you know. Yeah, and that's why we need some help when we enter married life. I mean, how often do I come across this, you know, that people come with their marriage problems and women are complaining and saying, oh, my husband, you know, he's got this history of violence and pornography and this and that. And oh, if I had known all that before, I would not have married him. Well, you know, the book has a whole list of over 100 topics and questions, which should be discussed with a sober and cool head in the period of association. And one topic is pornography there, for example, you know, yes, yes. Something which you would never ever ask a person if you just get to know him and you want to marry him and you like him, and you know, you wouldn't ask him, hey, do you have any history with pornography or something? Are you attached to, you know, you would never ever dare to ask something like this, but it comes in the list of questions. So if you go through the list, oh, well, there it comes up, you know. And also a history of violence and how do you react in this situation. That it's all coming up there, you know. So yeah, we have to get the help. You know, we have to get the help when we enter married life, that we depend on a worthy person, depend on, you know. Very important.
Well, thank you so much. That was such a beautiful answer. I'm so grateful for it. And I cannot wait to read the new book.
Okay, thank you for
Fantastic.
your encouraging words.
Yes.
Giving me some encouragement in my humble preaching efforts. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for gracing us with your time and your association. This has been lovely, and so many, you know, so much nectar came out of this, so many important points that we need to focus on. I'm very grateful. And I hope that you will come back. And also thank you all, you precious Vaishnavis, for joining us today, taking this time. Please share the video with other women that you know, because again, in order to build community within ISKCON amongst us, we have to have association of one another. Around Krishna, as Mataji just said, keeping Krishna at the top or in the center. So thank you all again, and let's all pay our obeisances to one another, and especially to our esteemed guests. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patita nam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Yes, and thank you also for everything, for joining us, Tiffany, Mataji, for arranging the whole thing. And I wish you all success in trying to be more conscious, not to defend, not to find excuses, not to blame others, not to push yourself in the limelight there, waiting until you're invited. And so please try and apply it. And yes. So all the very best in your further journey of internal transformation. And whenever you want me to be on again, you let me know.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Go
Hari Bol, and Her Grace Devaki Devi Dasi ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Don't massage my false ego too much.
Well, let me just say thank you again for another great lecture.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. All the very best to all of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Hari Bol, dear devotees.